Well, hello everyone and welcome back to the 6th video for my shot, steel and stone rules. Goodness me, this is turning into quite a series, isn't it? Thank you. Let me start by saying thank you to everyone who's shown an interest in these videos. Obviously thank you to everyone who's gone and bought a copy of the rules, whether you bought them before I started the videos or you've gone and bought a copy since, having been inspired by these videos. And a reminder, if you haven't already bought them, they're available from Amazon stores worldwide. They're also available in paperback in the UK from Caliber Books, and On Military Matters over in the US are stocking them in New Jersey. And in PDF format you can buy them from my own PayHip site. That's payhip.com Gladius Publications, and they're available on Wargame Vault, and also delightfully Wargames Atlantic are stocking them. So thank you to all those people who are helping to distribute the rules. I should also point out that at the moment I'm making these videos before I've sent out review copies to the various magazines, Wargames Illustrated, Wargames Soldier and Strategy, Miniature Wargames, and for those of you en France, of course, there's Victis. And if any of you think I should send them to any other magazines that might exist out there, do let me know, of course. And one of the reasons that I've held off sending those off yet is because obviously in the process of doing this, effectively it becomes another playtesting session, and I've had loads of input from viewers and people who bought the rules saying, oh, could you please clarify this, and what do you mean by that, and are you sure that's right, Henry? And in at least one case the person pointing that out was correct. Anyway, I also mentioned to you that there's both a Facebook page for the rules and a Facebook private group for any of you who are interested in getting more closely involved in terms of, say, playtesting, potentially for future variants of the rules, or helping compile an FAQ, that kind of thing. I want to give a special shout out to Richard. Richard, you know who you are, who's been tremendous actually, asking me some really difficult questions. Henry, what do you mean by that? And is also already helping me compile an FAQ, which is fantastic because I'm ridiculously busy in so many ways, and also this is kind of additional. Doing these videos is additional to what I normally do, and man, they're time consuming. So thank you so much, Richard, and anyone else who wants to get involved in helping to iron out wrinkles, or particularly helping to promote the rules, because that's obviously the big task, is actually, having done all this work, getting people to buy the rules. Anyway, here we are again, ladies and gentlemen, and this is now going to be, what is it, turn 3, 4? I've kind of lost track. Turn 3, I think. And we've just had this exciting turn, haven't we, where Ostergotland pulling back and Prunkland's infantry marching majestically forward. Not quite so majestically over here because of these, I keep using the word pesky, I've noticed that in my videos, these irritating Borg light infantry on the flank. The Ostergotland Regiment, yes, been pulling back, putting the squeeze on the cavalry and the howitzer. That's kind of like, whoa, are we going to get through here? The Westergotland infantry doing their best to deploy into this walled enclosure. And if nothing else, it's been an object lesson in, it's not easy moving from column to line, particularly a long column of march like they're in, and trying to squeeze into a confined space. And also they suffered a bit because there's some of the von Eintopf infantry were just able to shoot straight through the gate. They didn't get any benefit from being behind walls or anything like that. At the moment, cavalry's got nowhere to go, and the cavalry there is like, whoa, it's getting getting whittled away a bit by the Jäger over in the woods, who are doing incredibly well, actually. That's a classic example of how to use light infantry. Put them somewhere where basically no one else can get at them other than enemy light troops or things like enemy infantry if they really wanted to attempt to wade into woodland, but obviously they would get disrupted in the process. But they're in no danger of that at the moment. So I think let's carry on with the game, and as before, what I'm going to do is I'll show you dice rolls as they happen, and with little captions to make it clear what it is that I'm rolling for, but I'll be with you for kind of the leadership considerations, because I hope you're getting used to that idea now, that basically each turn, first of all, we decide who's got the initiative, unless you, as a solo player or in company with others, decided, okay, it's just going to be simple. I go, you go. I go, you go. And that's fine. We decided to take the more radical option, didn't we, of deciding each turn who's going to have the initiative and play out their phase first. And obviously that can mix things up quite interestingly. So we'll do that leadership, the initiative roll, and then, and let me make this clear for anyone who hasn't quite understood, you roll for the leadership for your brigadiers, so say the cavalry brigadier and the infantry brigadier, you roll for their leadership, having first of all, overall, effectively put on the general's hat. Here's a general. So the general would have a look at the situation and decide and say, right, what I intend to do is this. I intend to advance the cavalry there. I intend to do this with the infantry. I intend these troops to stay here and open fire, that kind of thing, right? So you declare your overall orders as if you were the general. Then you roll for the leadership for the sub-commanders, in this case brigadiers. And specific question, it's only if one of those brigadiers who is within command radius of the general, it's only if one of those brigadiers fails their role, let alone, God forbid, rolls a blunder, that you can say to your general, right, actually, general's going to step in here, right, you shut up, I'm going to have a go with the general at overriding those orders and hopefully doing better, even if it's just not rolling a blunder, okay? Having done that, that means the general can then not issue any other orders. So for example, if that brigadier then failed his role, sorry, the general has already done his bit. He's already stepped in and taken over here, so his attention is focused here. So if that general then rolled a blunder, tough luck. Nothing you can do about that, and that role will apply. Okay? It's also the case, it may be, for example, that the general is already in command of a reserve. Think of a much bigger battle. Think of a Napoleon, for example. There's all this other stuff going on, and he's got his Imperial Guard. So he really is going to be thinking about, okay, when's going to be the right time for me to send in the guard, let's say. He might not want to get involved in overriding this guy, because if he does that and something happens that then means that, oh, actually, it looks like the guard would be really useful here, he can no longer command the guard. He may have, if he's sensible, a lower level, another sub-commander who's directly in charge of the guard. But if he's got involved down here, he can't also order his guard. Okay? Whereas, if he leaves these guys to do their own thing, he could then decide, actually, I'm going to send in the guard, or reserve artillery, or reserve cavalry, whatever happens. I want them to do this. And he's going to be in a position, he's going to be at liberty to do whatever he likes with his own reserve. But if he's already stepped in and got involved in the nitty-gritty down here, that's it. The guard's just going to stand there shuffling. Oops, I could see that we could be useful, but we've not getting any orders this turn. All right, so I hope that's clear. So, as I say, what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll to see who's got the initiative this turn. You may be able to hear seagulls outside. It's one of the hazards of living in Brighton and Hove down on the south coast of England. Okay, so remember, black dice for the Borg, red dice for Prunkland. Who's going to get the initiative this turn? Wow, a 6 and a 5, and it's in favour of Prunkland. And remember again, if you're ever in a game where one of the senior commanders, the commanders-in-chief, is superior to his opponent, then he would add 1 to his dice roll. So say, for example, if the Borg commander was actually a superior commander and the Prunkland commander was only average, of course that would never happen, then he would add 1 to that and it would be 6 all and you'd have to roll again. But in this case, it's Prunkland going first. So let's have a look at what orders I would want to give Prunkland. Hello there, and of course we're talking now to General der Expeditionstruppe von Horowitz. Okay. Right, von Horowitz looks at the situation and he can see, oh, I've got an opportunity here to really get these Borg on the run. So what I think we're going to do is to, yes, I think what we're going to do is we're going to just a base width so they will be able to fire. We're going to pivot this part of von Eintopf round again and have another shot at the waylaid Westergotland to see if we can cause some real trouble there. And okay, we think, don't we, it's about time that the cavalry started getting involved. So how are we going to do that? I think what we're going to do, because these guys are going to be pivoting around here, we need to make a space in the centre here, don't we? So what we are going to suggest that we do is that von Renscher is going to advance slightly, so that half the unit can advance the base width and open fire. The rear part of the unit, what I want them to do is to turn about 90 degrees and basically go back to having that deep formation that they had at the beginning of the game. So effectively you've got a deep line, very deep line or shallow column formed over on that flank, okay, so that then these cavalry can start to move forward. And I think what I'll do is we'll start bringing the cavalry forward by double squadrons to round about here to where hopefully there's going to be a gap appearing. Obviously this is going to rely on a decent throw. No blunders please. The artillery might just as well keep banging away at the cavalry, and the light infantry, well, they've been wonderfully irritating, haven't they? How about we get the light infantry to start making a dash over to the walled enclosure? We don't have to issue orders, we can just do everything else, think, oh, what do I feel like doing with the light infantry? But I'm just going to declare that that's what they're going to do. They're going to start making a dash for the walled enclosure, so we've got some in the woods, some in the walled enclosure, so they can really start annoying the cavalry in the flank here. And over here, well, this half of von Eintopf, there's no point them moving anymore. Better for them to stand still, and they might as well have a go at shooting at the skirmishers over here, just to keep them at bay, really. But I'm going to keep those staying where they are as this half of the unit starts to pivot around. Okay, so that's the orders declared. Once again, I'm going to say keep watching. It'll be in fast sped up motion, and you'll be able to see exactly what's going on, and should any dice rolls become necessary, obviously I'll film them over here. Okay, right, excellent, off we go. Okay, I'm coming back to you at that point because, wow, what a roll. Generalleutnant der Infanterie von Blasen just rolled a double 1, which is as good as you can get, and then rolled a 6. So what that means is, not only is he passed, but he's passed as well as you possibly can, top 4. So with the 6 on top of that, gosh, there's everything here. So any mounted troops would add 3 base widths, not relevant to him. Infantry add 2 base widths, which is fantastic. Any formation changes can be carried out without penalty, which is going to be fantastic for what von Rentschen want to do. No deductions need to be made for difficult terrain. Wow, that's probably not going to be relevant for them, but never mind. All troops eligible to shoot add 1 to their die roll, so that basically will cancel out the fact that half the unit's going to have moved in both cases. And any troops eligible to melee would add 1 to their die rolls. I don't think we're going to get to melee yet, but wow. So basically, there's going to be some fast stuff going on. So I just wanted to come back and take you through that, because that's the first time I think in this whole game so far we've had a double 1. We've had a couple of blunders, haven't we? But that's the first time we've had a double 1. So, wow, off I go. Okay, so with those bonuses, no problem for von Rentschen to do what it wanted to do. Von Eintopf has advanced, because I'm only advancing it 1 base width because it is going to fire, and I don't actually want to expose its flank too much, potentially to Ostergotland. So could probably have moved an extra base width, but actually, do you know what? I'm just going to leave it where it is. These guys are not moving at all. So now we need to test for the leadership of von Rentschen, of course, in charge of the cavalry. So let's have a look at how he comes out. He rolls a 10, so he fails. And just a normal failed, but it's failed by, was it a 10? Oh, he's failed by 2, hasn't it? Goodness me. Okay, so deduct 2 base widths from the movement of his mounted units. So they would normally be able to move 5, they can only move 3 base widths. So what I'm going to do is going to move them, and I'm also going to move the light infantry who are over there. All right, so see you again. Okay, so that is Prunkland's movement done. So now it's time to open fire. Now this is where you'll notice the question of whether your colour parties, command stands are supernumerary or not comes in. Because for the purposes of that movement, what I've done is I've detached the colour party, who would normally be integrated, of course, into the body of the unit, and I've kept them separate. So when I'm measuring ranges, I'm not going to be measuring from the front of the colonel there, I'm going to be measuring ranges from the actual front rank of figures, and obviously the same goes here where they've got their colour party actually in the middle of the line. And as for what else has been going on, well, you can see that those sneaky skirmishers have managed to get into the walled enclosure there. Right, so it's time for some shooting, and of course the first thing we shoot every turn is the artillery, and here we go. We've got our medium artillery stick with, note, the close range canister is of 6 base widths. So let's go and have a look at what kind of range they're at. It's still medium range. The other thing you'll notice, is, can't quite see from here, deliberately left at least a base width space between von Renscher and the woodland. One base width is the minimum space you must leave in order for something to be able to fire through that gap. But anyway, here we go. We've got our medium artillery. We've got 4 dice at medium range. There are no other factors that I can think of. The artillery hasn't moved. Nothing else is intervening. They're just at medium range, which therefore means they're going to need 4s, 5s and 6s in order to cause hits. Let's have a look. Whoa, come back. 4s, 5s and 6s. Oh dear, that's only 1 hit. That means the Borg need to roll a 6 to save. No. There's another cavalryman. Bites the dust. Oh dear. Right, don't think they need a morale test there. Okay, von Renscher. Let's have a look at musket range. Musket range. Still long range. Okay, shooting at Ostergotland. Remember, it's only half the unit. Here we are, a bit of fluff. In fact, let's put him round the back. There we go. He's out of the way. Okay. So we've got 1, 2, 3 bases. 3, 6, 9. So 4, 5, or 6 is the starting point. They moved, which is -1. They're at long range, which is -1, which would mean they would need 6s. But the bonus from the sub-commander's brilliant dice throw means that they can add 1 back in. So it's 5s and 6s. Okay, 5s and 6s. Oh, wow. That looks like 4 hits to me. Okay. The Borg need 4s, 5s and 6s to save. Wow, they saved 2. Saved 2. That's 2 casualties. Let's have a look. Oh, give me a 2, give me a 2. There's a 2. Okay, so that's not going to provoke a morale test, a reaction test. It's not nice for them, but they're going to be okay. All right. So here we've got von Eintopf. Okay, and the range is, gosh, okay, so it's medium range. 4s, 5s and 6s would be normal medium range. But they moved, which is -1, which is 5s and 6s. Okay. And from this angle, yes, there's hard cover. And what you can see is on the shooting modifiers, target unit is in hardcover is -2. So instead of it being 4, 5 and 6, and they've moved 5 and 6, -2 for the hardcover makes it actually 7s. Okay, and there's a special rule for if you need to roll more than 6, you'd need to roll a 6 and then another 4, 5 and 6. But again, the general's benefit, because he did so well with his dice roll, means that they just need 6s. So we've got 12 chances of a 6. Ready? Let's hear those dice rattle. 1. 1? Yeah, that's all there is. Just 1, folks. Okay. But it's better than nothing at all. And the Borg, of course, can try and save that with a 4, 5 or 6. Saved, so no casualties. Oh well, never mind. Meanwhile, over here, okay, we've got, well, they're at long range, but they've not moved. Okay, so long range would be 5s or 6s, and the target is in skirmish order. So it's going to be that 7s score again, but because of the general, we're back to 6s. So again, we've got 1, 2, 3, and that still counts as a base 4. 4. So 12 dice needing 6s. Something wrong with our muskets today? Nothing. Oh well. After all that excitement of the general getting such an amazing roll, it's all sort of come to naught, really, hasn't it? So let's remind ourselves that yes, there's been a bit of shooting going on over here, just not to any beneficial effect. Okay. Dear, 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 dear. Definitely something wrong with our muskets today. What can I say? Shocking, shocking. Okay. So, oh, you're going to point out, Henry, what about your lovely cannon? Your lovely cannon fired as well. We need to be reminded that the cannon fired. Okay. Now, the light infantry. Well, they moved a long way, didn't they? And I'm going to adjudicate that they have been focused on moving. Because if they'd wanted to shoot as well, they would have had to have reduced their move by a couple of base widths, which they didn't do. They were more interested in charging over to get to that field. So no shooting from those Jäger this turn. Wow. But frustrating, but on the other hand, I've kind of started to achieve what I wanted to achieve by opening up the centre there. Right, now it's time to tidy up and head over to Ostergotland side. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. So, Prunkland's had its phase of the turn, and things are developing. Failed to inflict many casualties. Bit of a shame, but never mind. It's Ostergotland's turn. Okay, what's the general thinking? Here he is. Thomas von Heaney, Af Heaney, is the commander-in-chief. What's he thinking? He's thinking, blimey, or words to that effect, I would have thought. So what I think we need to do is to, can you hear my cat? Sorry about that. Is to sort out what's going on. I think the light infantry obviously just need to keep pranging away at von Eintopf. I don't think they need to move this turn. I think they've gone far enough. I don't want to move them too far away from any support or cover. So they're just going to keep sniping away. The cavalry, oh gosh, this has all changed a bit, hasn't it? The cavalry obviously now is incredibly vulnerable to shooting potentially coming from those light infantry in that enclosure. So I think we need to do one of two things. Either we need to move them right back, or we need to say, do you know what? Go for it and attack the light infantry who haven't quite reached the wall yet. Now obviously, it's difficult for cavalry in this sort of situation because obviously with an enemy potentially behind walls, that makes it next to impossible for them. So I think what we need to do is to use the cavalry's potential mobility. Let's hope for a good dice roll from the cavalry commander and get them round to a position where they could potentially at least get in the gate. So I'm going to say, okay, let's turn the cavalry and move them round, much further round to sort of here, so that potentially they're in a position to get in through that gate. I think that's the only sensible thing I can do with the cavalry. Obviously then we're thinking about all the artillery is looking potentially vulnerable now, isn't it? I think what we need to do with the artillery, because otherwise we're just going to be moving it around all day, is get them to the flank of Ostergotland and unlimber, so that potentially they could canister that nice juicy target as it approaches, or at least inflict some kind of casualties on them. Otherwise it's just going to spend the whole game doing nothing. The Ostergotland Regiment, quite honestly, I think the best thing it can do is stay exactly where it is and open fire. You might remember it hasn't fired yet. So let's do that, just have that stay. And the Westergotland, I think they just need to do the best they can. I think we're going to move the colour party out of the way and just deploy as many troops as possible, probably shifting slightly at an angle so we could fit in an extra base with luck. And I think maybe with this half of the regiment, yes, just get it up over the wall and let's get it in line with what's going on inside the fence, inside the wall there. Right, I think that's as much as we can do. So here we go for this brigadier, the General Lieutenant für Infanteriert Pieter Af Heaney. Let's roll for him, this guy. Fantastic, not quite a double one, but a really good throw. Okay, so that means his infantry will get 2 extra base widths of movement. That's really useful. So, okay, again, I am going to, well, before I go away, what I'll do, I'll roll for the cavalry commander as well. Let's roll for the cavalry commander, who, let's remind ourselves, is Anton Af Heaney. Okay, the cavalry commander rolls a 7. So again, it's a pass. General does not need to intervene. And the general is ordering, taking command of the gun and just sending it on its merry way over there. Okay. If we needed to, the generals. Should we roll for the general? See if he screws up. Again, a fantastic throw for the general. So that gun has just acquired a couple of extra base widths of movement as well. That's exactly what was needed. Right, folks. Back to you shortly. Okay, so that's Ostergotland's movement done, and as you can see, because of the bonuses, it means that things are looking up a bit because they've managed to unlimber the howitzer, but it won't be able to fire this turn. It's used up its full move allowance, but it is there and unlimbered. So Ostergotland have stayed where they are very calmly, and because they've stayed where they are, no more disorder points on them there. And let's have a look over here. The Westergotland, well, they're doing their best to untangle the situation. Obviously, they got some extra movement there that helped a bit, but it's all, you know, tangled. Oh, I've got a tree to put back where it should be, of course. These, as I said, were just kind of almost decorative trees. But obviously what this means is that some of them will be able to open fire. This portion of Ostergotland will be able to open fire, but not that portion. Not that they've really got an obvious target anyway. They're not in a position yet to really shoot at this part of von Eintopf. The Ostergotland Regiment. Oh yes, I think it's time, don't you? And that's all the potential firing for the Borg. So let's have a look, shall we, at what the situation is. Okay, so the situation, it's still long range at von Eintopf. They're still within the firing arc. It's all long range, but we've now got 1, 2, 3. Remember, we don't count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 bases of 3. So that's 18. 3, 6, 9, 12. 15, 18 dice. It's a lot of dice. Long range would be -1, so that would take it to 5s and 6s. But it's their first volley. So that means that it's back to 4s, 5s and 6s. So let's see. I think it's only fair, don't we, that we give them a bit of fluff for this, what they're hoping will be a momentous occasion. Of course, this may jinx them completely. Shall we just indicate that they're about, at long last, having been beaten back, they're about to open fire. There we go, nice bit of fluff. Kaboom. With 18 dice, are we ready? 4s, 5s and 6s is what they need. Ooh, let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh my goodness me. That's a lot of hits. That's actually an incredible volley. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 hits, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, as seeing my von Eintopf flayed like this doesn't make me feel good, but I need to pick up 14 red dice. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. And 4s, 5s and 6s to save. Oh dear, that don't look good, does it? So, get rid of the 1s. Okay, so actually I have saved a fair number, but these 2, 4, 6 casualties. Wow, that's a base load, isn't it? Okay, 6 casualties. But, however painful that is not a casualty per base, because they add the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bases still. and they took 6 casualties. So a terrific volley from Ostergotland, but in fact it doesn't change anything in morale terms. So bad luck them. Let's have a look over here at these guys, the Westergotland. Okay, now this is kind of complicated. They benefited from hard cover. And let's have a look at the situation, shall we? Okay, I'm going to say there's going to be 2 bases where von Eintopf get hard cover, 1 base through the middle where they don't. I think let's make that fair. So we're going to do the range is medium range, so 4s, 5s and 6s. They moved, so it's basically 5s and 6s, and for these 2 bases there's +2 for the hardcover, so they need 7. So let's do those first because that shows how this works out. All right, so those 2 bases need 7. So what that means is you get 6 dice for those 2 bases. I need to roll 6s to start with. Okay, let's clear those out of the way. 6s to start with, and then any 6s will be re-rolled. So let's have a look. Whoop. 6s to start with. 1. Whoops. It was a 6. So he scored a 6. He needed 7. So we need to roll a 4, 5 or 6 with this dice. And he doesn't do it. So they don't cause any casualties. Now the base in the middle, straightforward, 4s, 5s and 6s, but they moved 5s or 6s. Oh dear. Fortunately, it's not only Prunkland's muskets that are misfiring. Oh dear. Right, let's have a look at the Jäger. We know, oh okay, so we've got a couple of bases at medium range, couple of bases at long range. They haven't moved, so 1 dice per base. So these will need 5s or 6s. 2 chances of a 5 or 6 for the long range. 1 hit. And I'll just put that to one side, 1 hit. And 2 chances of a 4, 5 or 6 for the others. Yeah, so 3 hits. So Prunkland needs to roll 3 chances of a 4, 5 or 6. And there's a casualty. There we are. Well, that tidies up that end of the line a bit, doesn't it? But again, not enough casualties for a reaction test. Let's just fluff our skirmishers a little bit because obviously they've been shooting away like so. Wow. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of that turn, and I'll have a think about what to do next. So, for the moment, cheerio.